SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Come see your locally owned and operated Linton Glass for all your glass needs. No matter what glass you need to replace, you can count on Linton Glass. Call us today at 601-835-4336 or find us on the web at lintonglass.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
Move over to my proper positioning, and we're ready to go. Good morning to you on a Friday morning. Dave Hughes in for Richard on a Friday once again here on Super Talk Mississippi on mornings. Over in the box, as always, my buddy Lance Tolbert joins us. How are you, sir?
Hey, how's it going, man? I'm glad it's Friday.
Yeah, you, me, and everybody else on the planet except those that have to work weekends.
Oh, yeah, I get to do that, too. But
yeah, well,
money, you know.
Yeah, well, it never ends. The journey never ends.
Well, it's been a great news cycle this week, too. I mean, it's just been
good grief.
One thing after another. Then, as we were laughing, you get the comedy hour that ensues. Inevitably from Kamala Harris. So,
yes. Kamala Harris was on the Colbert Show, the Late Show with Stephen Canceled Bear. And by the way, misconception here. They keep using the word canceled. This is just another version of manipulating things. He was not canceled. His contract is up in May, and CBS told him they would not renew it. That's not a cancellation.
Yeah, they're just saying, hey, don't let the door hit you, and you know what, on the way out of that last show, yeah, go on and head to the house. It's time for a long vacation.
You know, what kills me about this, this whole thing, they tell him, okay, you got until May and then you're done. I have been in broadcasting for, 43 years now. I've been on the air. I have never once in my life seen someone be told, you're going to be fired in a few months now, get back on the air. It doesn't work that way.
You do a lot of damage, can't you?
Oh, good grief. You can burn the entire house down. I have been standing there many times when somebody finished up their show. Heck, I was the guy that finished up his show. And you walk out the door and the boss says, need to see you for a minute. They hand you your final check and you are done. You had no idea it was coming. It happens all the time in radio. But for some reason, they want us to believe they're going to keep him on the air until May. I believe they're handing him enough rope to give them a reason to terminate him and cut down on what kind of money they have to pay him to go away.
Yeah, you're hoping that he's going to mess up, breach the contract. And, you know, if you're truly canceling. And, on the other side of that, some miracle may happen, right? Somebody with the big bucks may come in and say, no, out of the, however many million people that were watching his show say, no, I'll fund the 100 million and the 200 staff and let's leave him on. But,
Well, the problem with that is I think the person, I use that term loosely, with all of that money that was performing that duty for the entire last 5-6 years on that show, were the USAID funds, which have now been stopped.
Good call, man.
All of a sudden, they can't cover their losses, and it's time for him to go.
Yeah, you're wondering, how is he so profitable? And then Trump wins, and he's not profitable. Maybe there was some creative accounting going on there and some good old USAID funds to plug in wherever it was bleeding.
Well, a lot of things are changing, and a lot of things are changing for the better. I do have some breaking news I'm going to give you right now. Turns out the liberals were right. It just broke. Sydney Sweeney has invaded Poland. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, she is, in fact, the embodiment of Nazism.
Right. Yeah.
We'll talk.
It never
about that
stops, though, right? I mean,
No.
The off-rocker comments and, you're going, God, somebody missed their meds today? We get that regularly now.
For the second week in a row, the second Friday in a row, buddy, professional wrestling is relevant in the news. Last week, of course, we were talking about the Hulkster checking out. This week, did you see the press conference yesterday where the president announced the return of the presidential fitness test for public school
wow,
students?
that's been a long time. Wasn't that under Bush?
Bush is the one that kind of brought it to an end. It was conceived of, no surprise here, by President Eisenhower. And it was really President Kennedy that really got it going. And then it ran all the way through Bush Sr. That would have made 1,001 points of light, so we had to get rid of that. So he did away with that, and they morphed it into something else.
You get like a medal or something?
Oh, yeah, you got an award and everything. And actually what happened was, under Bush Sr., they stopped giving out the medals for the top performers, the ones that accomplished the goals. No trophies, Instead, they started recognizing everyone that participated. Bush Sr. turned the presidential fitness test into a participation trophy activity.
Everybody's got to feel good about themselves. You don't want to work too hard and accomplish something.
Everyone should feel good about themselves, especially the losers.
Yeah.
But they had the press conference, and he brought out the person that he was appointing to oversee the presidential fitness test in the United States of America, Triple H.
Really? I love it.
Yes. Trips was there. He introduced him, said, nobody's going to want to mess with this guy. Come on, look at him. And he's standing there, and Triple H just kind of smiling and laughing.
Those guys are so, to me, I love watching wrestling stuff, even if it's not the actual match. But I went back and rewatched the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler feud.
Yes.
What a great, both of those guys were so good and crisp, but I was so impressed with Jerry Lawler. And, they played each other so well. And it was on the Letterman show where they actually finally had the showdown. And, but man, as far as after the match, and Kaufman still had on the neck brace, and, it's just hilarious. So if you want to watch something funny, really, go watch Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman. But even back then, when it was mostly like Mid-South wrestling, and Jerry Lawler, he was as big as a sycamore, man. That guy was thick.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to put it into perspective until you put a little pipsqueak like Kaufman. And he's not a little guy. He was tall. But, man, Lawler made it. It was like four guys, Lawler was, compared to Kaufman. And Letterman kept saying, man, I don't know why you would want to pick on this guy. He goes, it's just for show. It's just entertainment here. And I was just so, yeah.
Lawler stands up and slaps the taste out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And walks off, and Kaufman's just laying there, spread out across the stage. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you couldn't do that anymore, though. Unless you're Will Smith and Chris Rock, I guess. But
he even Will Smith got semi-canceled over that.
I don't think he got away with it, though. Yeah.
No, that was a cultural moment. But boy, you brought it back full circle. That's the difference between Letterman and Colbert. Letterman had cultural moments, one after another, his entire career.
I thought about it a lot lately, as the cancellation. And I told you, though, it was probably last week. Seth Meyers, has like 500,000 viewers.
Yeah.
Why is he on air? There's nothing of real value there. I actually caught about 2-3 minutes last night, and it's the same kind of stuff. There's no creativity to it. Dave, it's just it's stale bread. And it's time to throw it out, I think. I've seen several people talking about this. They keep bringing up an old clip from an interview that they did with Johnny Carson years and years ago. Carson was a younger guy at that point, but he was already the king of late night, and asked him, the interviewer did, about political opinions and commenting on politics. And he said, no, that's a mistake. He said, that's not why I'm there. I'm there to entertain people and send them to bed with a smile and a laugh. That's the entirety of my job. And the second I start feeling so self-important that I inject my personal beliefs into it, it's over. That's a great point. And having A-listers and a big budget and a band and all these things, that made that was new. That was unique. And you've seen them try to replicate this model time and time again. And you're not going to be Johnny Carson or David Letterman. You're just not. The formats need to change. I mean, Jerry Springer had the guts to do something different, even if it was absolutely off the rocker crazy. He went out and did something different, and that made him. And I think that's where we've got to get back to late night and those types of things. So you're going to have to offer me more than the same thing that's happened over the last 60, 70 years, but way more political, and not entertaining.
Well, here's you put your finger directly on the problem with everything coming out of Hollywood, coming out of the networks, everything, and it's this. Late night didn't succeed because of the format. It didn't succeed because of the stage or the studio or the equipment or the idea. It succeeded because you had Johnny Carson. You had David Letterman. You had later on Conan O'Brien. You had these people that were talented, that brought their talent and put it forward, and people got to know those guys.
And it wasn't just a soapbox to whine about your political leanings.
Yeah. But if even then, I mean, let's go back and look. You had others that didn't lean into their political leanings. Mm-hmm. Arsenio Hall comes screaming to mind. Yeah, where'd he go? Yeah. Not the same level of talent. Mm-hmm. Talent trumps all. The better you are, the more you'll succeed and the more viewership or listenership you'll have. That's the way it works. Always has, always will. Oh, it's going to be a soapbox morning. I can see it coming. We'll continue on mornings.
From the Venable Glass.
Ready. Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Be with you in a minute. I'm rocking out.
Oh, you have my permission, brother.
How can you not when you get something like that on?
Yeah, I mean, Offspring is underrated, I think. I mean, as of the 90s bands and the West Coast guys.
Now, keep in mind, their sound was so cohesive and so identifiable and so unique. They basically did one song over and over and over. But it was a good song.
Yeah, they had a little rage to them, and it was funny. Yeah. I played ball with a bunch of dudes from Cali, and especially Southern California area, and the culture, really around that music they were like one and the same almost. The people, everything. I loved my Southern Cali buddies. Man, they were a lot of fun. Learned a lot about unique music, and those were some fun times back in the 90s. California's changed a bit since then, but
some of it has.
Not all of it, right?
Most people don't realize that, and J.D. Vance actually tweeted this out late yesterday, because the big discussion is going on about gerrymandering in Texas. Mm-hmm. Well, he pointed out, he said, the state of California is gerrymandered to the point to where 14% of the elected officials are Republican, but in the presidential race, 40% of the voters voted Republican. How can they get away with this?
I've thought about this topic a good bit over my lifetime, and it's just one of those very difficult things to pull off effectively without picking sides. I mean, who's in power is going to have some influence in how all of these districts get drawn. And then you got to go back to the drawing board because, hey, it wasn't fair. And so you have this seesaw battle, that continues indefinitely. And I don't know how you solve that, Dave. It seems to be, I wouldn't want to be in the position of trying to draw these districts 100% fair to represent every color and whatever it may be exactly as it should be. Seems like that's what we're trying, what we would want to get away from is just to vote, and
we need at least one district that will elect a Yugoslavian yak-herker.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know how you solve that. That's a very deep conversation, and I'm not sure you have solutions for it, really.
Well, and I'm going to tell you my opinion on that. And it's not going to be a popular opinion, but that just means I'm awake and my mouth is moving.
And it's Friday. Yeah, you don't have to be back
exactly.
to next week.
I got a whole 6 days after
you
this.
Parachute out of this thing.
Yes, exactly. I don't think that's a bug. I think that's a feature of our style of governance. I think, yes, it's going to change because the opinions of the electorate change. The national conversation changes. And if we locked it in, that's just going to lead to severe problems. Look at it as kind of a pressure release valve. There's pressure all the time from all directions, from both sides right now especially. The pressure, in my opinion, has never been higher. That's one way some of that pressure gets let off. When you can't get a big win, at least you can feel like you're getting a smaller win.
Yeah. Got a single there. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Got a single. We needed a triple. We're still down 2 runs, but hey, we got a guy on base now. It's that kind of thing. So I think psychologically it serves a valuable purpose. Now, do I wish all the liberals would move to the moon? Well, of course, but
put them on the backside, right?
Here's the other problem with that I think people don't realize. And if you go back and you study American history, you'll realize this is true. If the liberals completely go away, they will be replaced by something worse.
Yeah.
You know the old expression, better the devil you know than the one you don't?
Right, yeah.
There is never going to be a 100% unified anything in this country. Never has been. I mean, for crying out loud, when they were writing the Constitution and the Declaration, they fought like cats and dogs. That's the entire point of America, is everybody can get in there and mix it up and fight.
Well, I just don't like that it turns racial. You know,
that's
the
is
part.
a problem.
That's, I guess, what I think more about. I like the fact that districts aren't set in stone and etched that way. It's more in sand. I just hate that we find times in our history where we could look back and say, this race stuff, kind of. Picking one or the other doesn't seem to be a great idea, and focusing on those issues doesn't seem to open up conversation. It just seems to polarize. And, I wish we weren't, in that boat where every blue moon you had to have these huge racial conversations and, the right's Nazis and the left's communists and the blacks and the whites and it just gets, it's tedious at times, I think. I think a lot of people get wore out from it going, hey, I just want to go to work, make a living, have some money in my pocket at the end of the day. And have a good time, live life, raise kids. And, I'm not thinking about, hey, I don't like this person because of the color of their skin or where they're from. I don't think about stuff like that. I was thinking about, are people good folks? That's all I care about. Yeah, they're good people. They're going to open the door for somebody or pick up garbage when they accidentally drop it. Are you conscientious? Do you take the basket back, or do you leave it in the parking lot rolling around all over for somebody else to deal with? I mean, I kind of look at things that way, more than education and all these things. It's just basic to me.
Yes, and I agree with that 100%.
When you try to represent every little special interest in every little district, it does seem like it would be very difficult to nail that one down effectively without any debate.
The problem with that kind of issue that we need to deal with is the fact that it's been a winning move for decades. Yeah. Why stop now?
It's working, huh?
The only way, and mentioned it a minute ago about Sydney Sweeney and the American Eagle jeans commercial.
Yeah, they got upset about that one, man.
Who knew that a hot chick wearing your jeans would increase your company's profit? Who knew? Yeah. We never have seen that before.
I wonder how many more Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues were sold in 1988 or 9, or 1999 or 2010. Just curious. I didn't really care to go look, but I bet there were more. And don't tell me, the advent of the internet. No, it's the fact that you've chosen that. Let's feature this, that, and the other, rather than what really people want to buy. Is good-looking girls in a swimsuit. Let's be honest.
Did you see though the apology, and I'm putting air quotes around that very specifically, that American Eagle issued about their ads with Sydney Sweeney?
I didn't read. I like American Eagle. Like, I have some of their stuff. They make a good product. I was hoping they didn't, bow knee down and go, we'll never do it again.
Oh, they didn't.
Good.
They didn't. Their apology, which they have run as a follow-up ad, is basically a non-apology. It doesn't come right out in words and say neener, neener, but it's close. And the reason why is those ads started running, and within 24 hours...
They were making money, huh?
They had added over $400 million to the company's net worth because the stock went through the ceiling.
It was like somebody out there, maybe in the world of finance that pays attention to these companies, went, hey, these guys are not idiots. They want to make money. Let's buy their stock. You know, I remember that was really kind of the whole goal of running a company was, you know, let's make sure we make some money here and pay our employees well and stay in business. That seemed to be the most important thing about a business for a long time.
Here, I've got it. Here's the apology they put out. I'm going to read it exactly as it's written. Okay?
Well, we're sorry for making money and great jeans. And
that's pretty close, yeah. It says, to whom it may concern, right under the American Eagle logo. We sincerely apologize for featuring Sydney Sweeney in our recent advertisement. In hindsight, we underestimated the combined impact of her blue eyes, blonde hair, and general hotness. Also, we did not realize how big her boobs would be. Our marketing team has been sent to denim sensitivity training.
Yeah.
Thank you for your feedback. Please stop emailing us.
Yeah, I got to see who the CEO of this company is.
They are knocking it out of the park.
Who is this? J.L. Schottenstein, American Eagle CEO. Attaboy. Keep up the good work, sir. He's out of Columbus. He's a good middle American, Columbus, Ohio, chairman and CEO of Schottenheim Stores Corporation, American Eagle Outfitters, and he's executive chairman of Designer Brands. Go buy his stuff, yeah.
This is the first example I can think of a company not bowing a knee to the liberals losing their minds because somebody did something that they didn't like.
Well, and, I almost dropped a 4-letter word accidentally saying his name, but I think maybe the liberals are thinking that Schottenstein, that's a new 4-letter word for them, huh?
Yeah.
I was like, I better say this slow. I don't want to mess this one up.
To be fair, they may think that's a 4-letter word anyway because their counting ability is not that hot.
So, how many fingers is that? Oh.
I mean, heck, they counted twice as many votes in 2020 as Biden actually got. Their number grasp is not excellent. Yep. I told you it's a soapbox kind of day. Just buckle in.
We got all kind of goodies for you.
Oh, yeah. And I do have, you and I talked about it. I've got that question I'll be asking later in the show. I want to get some feedback from the C Spire text line. So I'm going to get you to weigh in, exercise your creativity. We're going to try to help somebody who's down on their luck out. Because that's the kind of good people we are here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. We continue right after this.
From the safety. Rise and shine with information and insight. Check it out. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Sweet Jane. Oh, sweet, sweet Jane. Waiting for Jimmy down in the alley. Waiting there for him to come back.
Knocking it out of the park on the bumpers this morning, I got to say. Welcome back. Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Next hour, got Ashley Edwards joining us. Leah Long will be with us to start the 8 o'clock hour this morning, discussing the current state of small business in Mississippi and the jobs report, labor shortages in the state. We have a standard pat answer to solve the question at hand with that, but I don't know that it's complete or even the right one, and we'll talk about that with her and possibly get her in trouble. I'm just going to get everybody in trouble today, Lance.
Well, that's fine. We can, like I said, there's a weekend ensuing, so we can hide.
We'll just all pretend it never happened. It was a bad dream.
Just stick my head in the sand and just pretend. I can play pretend. I don't know, are you good at playing pretend?
Oh, man, I am fantastic at playing pretend.
Hey, man, I was going to say, let me hit a little weather real quick, just so folks know what's going on with the juice this weekend. We'll go with Oxford, 50% chance of showers today, high near 87, so it'll be nice, but maybe a little wet 5-mile-per-hour wind, not much there to help you out. And the rainfall amount shouldn't reach more than about 1/10 of an inch, maybe a little bit more in the gullies and such. Tonight, slight chance of showers 4-7, and then tomorrow, 86, mostly sunny. Man, that's going to be nice. And so look up there. That's their North Mississippi forecast. A little bit more detail there in Hattiesburg. Showers and thunderstorms mostly before 3. You might get some a little later in the afternoon as well. And into the evening, it'll be cooking down there too. So 95 degrees. Heat index up to 105. So playing in the rain may not help too much. Chance of the wet stuff is 80%, and it probably will be much like that through the evening. It'll drop about 50% later on. And then tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms mainly after 1, high near 91. Heat index values will creep up there again, and a lot of rain, 80% chance down there in Hattiesburg. So if you got yard work to do, get it done today or wait till Sunday maybe. And then as far as Starkville, I'm hitting the big towns, Oxford, Starkville, Hattiesburg for a reason, because we've got football practices that have kicked off. So some of them may be indoors, some may be outdoors. I'm sure most of them would prefer to be in the air conditioning. But you have in Starkville area, showers and thunderstorms likely as well, probably around 91, heat index over 100, chance of wet stuff's 80%. Again, about 1/4 of an inch to maybe up to 1/4 of an inch. Possible 30% chance tonight, and then tomorrow, slight chance of showers with a high near 89. So if you're getting out there looking, if you're going out watching football and all that stuff tomorrow, it looks like Oxford and Starkville will have some decent weather. And Hattiesburg maybe a little bit more precipitous, so be careful. And then the Delta, the usual, is going to be high, 92, 102 heat index, 70% chance of rain, and the humidity will be at 400%. And then Saturday, it'll drop to a 20% chance of showers. So you got stuff to do in the Delta, probably better day to do that maybe early today or sometime in the Sunday, when you got a little bit better. Saturday looks okay, though. It won't be that bad, probably about 20, 30% chance. So
that's the issue with the Delta, though.
You never know.
Pretty much just go ahead and print out the forecast, and then every morning when you get up, take that day's forecast and wad it up and throw it over your shoulder because, hey, you get what you get.
It's kind of like going out into the Gulf and fishing, and it's a beautiful day, and then 10 minutes later, your squall's on top of you. That kind of the way the Delta reminds me. You had a couple of interesting birthdays today. I wanted to say before we moved on. One of my favorite sidemen, kind of the second dude, Dom DeLuise. He would have been 92 years old today. Absolutely love him in anything that I've ever watched him in. He plays his part so well, and he's so refined and rehearsed that it's you can't tell that these are lines. He's so good at it.
He had so many great roles, but for some reason, the first thing that always pops in my mind when anybody mentions Dom DeLuise, Cannonball Run.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's the
Every
one
time.
that gets you. And in the second one, isn't it the second one when they have the crazy doctor?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, their interaction and the doctor eating the sandwich with the big, he's got the big shot with a 4-inch needle on it, just drinking from it. What is it, like his martini or something? I mean, I love that. And then Jerry Garcia would have been 83 years old today. And so those are some big names there I want to admit. And then, of course, if you're kind of one of the newer TV and movie fans, you got Jason Momoa, 46 years old today, Game of Thrones, Aquaman, and many, many other things that he has done. And then the late Peter O'Toole, pretty big deal back in the day, passed in 2013. He would have a birthday tomorrow, so just wanted to throw that one out there, as he was one of the good old guys of the old guard. Lawrence of Arabia, maybe some movie y'all have heard of that he did. And but yeah, that's what I had for you on the birthing days today. And
you talking about that and about the old guard, I have gotten addicted to watching. There's an entire genre of YouTubers, mm-hmm. and it's younger people in their 20s, maybe all the way up to early 30s, who are going back and finding things that they listen to live and react to it live for the first time.
Yeah, I love those. It's like a couple, isn't it? Like a guy and a girl, and then
I've seen
it's
that
amazing.
One.
Yeah,
they are great. And I mean, when I say they're listening to things they've never heard in their life, I'm talking about Carry On Wayward Son by mm-hmm. Kansas, or Don't Stop Believin' by... They've never heard it. They don't know it. They're completely clueless and are always blown away.
Blown away, yeah. It's always the look on the face when they hear the first note that they've never heard, or are like, whoa, where did that come from?
That's because 90% of everything these days stinks.
Yeah, a lot of it does. It's very rehashed and, kind of remade, but not a huge bunch of sports news. I wanted to mention this one because it was, this is Major League Baseball, folks, and y'all know this, but the Braves lost a heartbreaker a couple of days ago, 1-0. What was it, 11 innings, I believe?
Yes, it was. Thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate it.
You don't scratch one out in 11, man. Your offense is feeling terrible. You get in the batting cage, and the pitcher's like, come on, guys. We did everything we were supposed to do, and you got a little tension in the clubhouse. Well, what do? You come out and play the same team the next day, and you beat them 12-11 in 10 innings.
Yeah.
The Reds got 17 hits in that game. The Braves 13. The Reds, though, lost it basically with a couple of errors there, but the Braves outlast the Reds in a 10-inning thriller and rebounded from a extra inning loss of 1-0. So you go from feast to famine and back and forth in baseball. Braves aren't having a great season, but I thought that was a good one because we were talking about that the other day, going, wow, 1-0. You don't see that much in Major League Ball, especially if you get to the extra innings. But that's how it ended, yeah.
No, because that means they went to extra innings. They played a full 9 innings and nobody scored.
Yeah. Well, and you had a big football game last night. If you're into preseason football, the Hall of Fame game up in Canton. It was, not Canton, it's up there even further up, I believe, up in New York somewhere. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, the Hall of Fame game preseason. Trey Lance, though, kind of had a nice resurgence, brought him in, 13 out of 21, 22 touchdowns. He was kind of the talk of the first half. And then you have, obviously, Jim Harbaugh and his quirky ways and, khaki pants and white shoes. I've always running up and down the sidelines, having a good time. Chargers won that one convincingly against a really good Lions team, 34-7. I know it doesn't really move the needle much in preseason, but being the first game in the Hall of Fame game and all that stuff, it was a nice little, hey, it's football season. So that's what I got for you in sports and weather today.
That very first game of the season, like the Hall of Fame game, that is the only time in their careers some of those guys will play in the first quarter.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of those guys will be bagging some groceries or doing some other things, and they're having a blast out there. It's a lot of fun. I had some friends that were able to get on those rosters and make it a year or two, and some of the stories they'd tell you about the physicality and the locker room annex and just the whole game itself. I mean, NFL it's big boy ball, buddy. You better be bringing a lunch.
You were talking about the weather forecast and football.
Yes, sir.
It's a great spot to jump in and remind you that the Not Fall Camp Tour gets started next week for Sports Talk Mississippi. Wednesday, they're going to be at the library in Oxford. Then the following week, they'll be at Two Brothers Barbecue Smoked Meats in Starkville. And then the week after that, on August 20th, at Ed's Burger Joint in Hattiesburg. If you've never been to Ed's, you don't know what you're missing. Go check them out. The entire tour presented by Pearl River Resort. They're going to have a lot of giveaways, a lot of fun, and, as you know, a lot of opinions. So it's going to be a good time.
Eats, too. Hey, there was 2 interesting things that happened on this day in history. The first one I'll mention, 2001, it was revealed that Alabama Supreme Court Justice Ray Moore had a 10 Commandments monument installed in the Judiciary Building the night before a meeting without his 8 associate justices being aware. He did, however, allow a Christian television ministry to film it. Ultimately, the act led to a lawsuit and had to have it removed from the office. But that was one of those bold moves right there. And then if you don't know the story of Russian KGB officer Vitaly Yushchenko, that defected to the U.S. in Rome, named Americans Ronald Pelton and Edward Lee Howard as KGB agents, but it was a big deal, and he was drugged, and a bunch of weird stuff happened, but it looked like the CIA had set it up so that they could protect Aldrich James, who was an American CIA agent and had done some crazy stuff. So that story's a really weird one if you're looking for a nice little lunchtime read when you're eating a Sammy. But that was in 1985, back in the good old days.
That is a rabbit hole, that entire story. By the way, so many things these days I feel like could be described by he got drugged and then some weird stuff happened. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of life right now, isn't it? Really? When we come back, how's your wallet looking? How's that money situation going? We might have a cure. We've got the lottery numbers from the
Venable Glass.
The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
They really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk Mississippi.
That's what they got for you with the Mississippi Lottery. This segment, of course, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery because it's all the money they handed out yesterday. Good grief. We'll start right at the beginning, actually, with the big drawings, as usual, for the week. Lotto America. No jackpot winner in the Wednesday drawing. The numbers there were 9, 13, 26, 43, 51. The star ball was 4, and the all-star bonus multiplier was 3. Next drawing tomorrow night, estimated jackpot, $3.74 million. The estimated cash value, $1.68 million for Lotto America. Powerball, no jackpot winner Wednesday on that one either. The numbers were 4, 15, 35, 50, 64. The Powerball was 8. The Power Play multiplier was a big old 4. But now the jackpot continues to grow. Estimated jackpot for tomorrow's drawing, $410 million. The estimated cash value, $184.9 million. Double play, the numbers from Wednesday, 13, 32, 65, 66, 68, and the Powerball was 7. Mega Millions, no jackpot winner on Tuesday night's drawing. Those numbers were 17, 30, 34, 63, 67, and the Mega Ball 11. The estimated jackpot for tonight, $140 million. The estimated cash value, $62 million. I'll take it. Oh, I'll take it. Mississippi Match 5, no jackpot winner. Estimated jackpot for tonight's drawing on Mississippi Match 5, $76,000. Last night's drawing, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 12. Those were your numbers there. The Cash 3, Cash 4, Fireball, and Cash Pop numbers from yesterday. 2 drawings per day on all 4 of those games. Cash 3, the midday drawing numbers were 6, 0, 4. Evening, 9, 0, 6. Cash 4, midday was 4, 4, 2, 1. The evening drawing was 2, 7, 4, 4. Fireball, midday drawing was a 5. Last night's drawing was a 1. And then for Cash Pop, a couple of double-digiters. The midday drawing gave us a 12 for Cash Pop yesterday. The evening drawing was a 15. Always remember, all the numbers are unofficial until they're certified by the Mississippi Lottery Corporation. Now, new scratch-off games coming up starting Tuesday. Cash on the spot. It's a $1 game with prizes up to $5,000. Cruising the Coast, the 2025 edition. It is never too early to start getting ready for Cruising the Coast. Coming up October 5th through the 12th. The $2 ticket celebrating the event. 4 classic car designs and prizes up to $25,000. And another new game, Break the Bank, a $5 ticket with a chance to win up to $100,000. Those Cruising the Coast tickets, you can catch the Mississippi Lottery team at some of the Coast retailers that week and collect every ticket design while they last. So keep that in mind. Yesterday, had some scratch-off winners. Oh, boy, every day we have scratch-off winners. Cash Pop, players from Guntown, Fayette, and Belden each won $1,000. A Water Valley woman won $1,250. She bought that ticket in Oxford. And players from Batesville and Lauren each won $2,500 on tickets. Match 5, players from Macomb and Hattiesburg. We told you no jackpot winner, but somebody in Macomb and somebody in Hattiesburg, each one got $800. Biloxi woman also won $1,000 yesterday on Match 5. Powerball, Ocean Springs man, oh man, this is a good week. $50,000 he won on a ticket bought in Ocean Springs.
Yeah, you could get a beard wrangler for $50K. I mean, you could just have one on staff.
I get this thing waxed. It'll have little curly hues and everything. I'll be fancier than is necessary. Give me $50,000. Watch what happens. The $20 $500,000 Extreme Cash. We had a couple of winners there, Jackson and Boonville. Those two players each won $5,000 on their tickets. I'll take the $5,000, but what I'd really like to do is get to know the Forest woman who bought a $20 Colossal Cash ticket in Meridian and won $500,000.
You could get you a Cessna, and you could have your beard butler with you at all times.
Yeah, just hold it up like a paper plate in front of it so the wind doesn't mess it up as I'm flying. I like the way you think.
Yes,
that's a good idea. You're going to be my consultant.
Yeah, hey, I spent a long time consulting, so yeah, I'm good. Just give me a holler. I got great ideas, just no money,
In other words, if I win, I'm calling Lance. If Lance wins, I'll never hear from him again.
Oh, no, I've always said if I win, I'm blowing it, baby. This is getting used. We're going to have a party.
And always winners on the $20 200X Cash Blitz. Players from Hattiesburg and Ashburn, Virginia. Each won $1,000 on tickets bought in Hattiesburg and Summit. And then a Jackson man won $2,000 on a 200X Cash Blitz $20 ticket on a ticket he bought in Ridgeland. Your chances to win go up astronomically when you play. So go get your tickets today. There's a lot of cash being won every day with the Mississippi Lottery. Up next, we've got news from Fox, news from SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then hour number 2 of mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi after this.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers. Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross, without Richard Cross today, brought to you by MWG Employer Services. You can call them today to find out more information about how to make your HR benefits and payroll a lot less of a headache. Call 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. At the bottom of the hour, Ashley Edwards will be joining us during the break, though.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love the between the break rigmarole we get to do.
I think we conclusively proved one thing during the break. Forget a radio show. Lance and I should not be allowed near telecommunications equipment. We should be locked in a small room and just left.
Yeah,
through a slot.
I haven't even had a beer yet either, and we're coming up with good ones this morning.
Oh, we got some buttes. Mentioned it last hour, was talking about the fact that Kamala Harris,
not the wrestler, the former politician,
not the Ugandan warrior, right. the cackling bandit, was on the Colbert Show last night to promote her new book, which isn't coming out till September, I believe. And they decided to name it 107 Days because that's how long her campaign was. 106.5 days too long. She's, for whatever reason, she has decided to brag on the fact that it was the shortest presidential campaign in modern election history.
And spent the most money in in history of any election.
Yes, which means she also gets the title for biggest amount of money per day over a campaign that was spent by default, and a lot of other records that we won't talk about here because, get us kicked off the air.
But I mean, our book titles. Do you think we should?
I'm trying to decide.
I'm going to go with just the first part of my title.
And the premise here
I'm not going to go with the colon after that because it may not be appropriate.
Yeah, they decided to name it 107 Days, and my thought was, and I talked to Lance about this before the show this morning, there's got to be a better title for Kamala Harris's presidential campaign book than 107 Days.
Yeah, that would have been mine for those 100 days would have been Dreams of Willie Brown. And then a colon with, I have other stuff I can't say on air. Yours, which I really appreciated, knee pads and nightcaps, colon, never unburdened by what has been.
Yeah.
So,
now, I am going to activate these.
I love it.
The longer you think about it, the worse it gets.
And the more truthful, honestly. So
I am going to activate the C Spire text line army. Send in your suggestions. Now, I want you to realize the amount of risk I'm taking here, because this is going to be in Lance's hands to go through and find which ones we can actually say on the air and find out the winners. But there's got to, what's your suggestion for a better title for Kamala Harris's book than 107 Days?
Do you think it has like one of those like little pop-up shot glasses in it and a crayon or something? I mean, you got to love it, honestly, when you don't hear from Harris for like 3 months and she goes back on the wine and then she comes out with a book. I mean, This is what life's all about, man. I mean, there's some comedic relief in everything. And I was wondering, sitting on the edge of my seat, curious, what was next for Miss Harris. Now we
apparently not much of anything.
Not
because,
much of anything.
You know, she had previously issued a statement and said she would not run for governor of California. And last night, Colbert was asking her about her political future, and she said after a lot of thought, now of course she worded this differently and really, really badly, but after a lot of thought, she didn't want to enter back into the system because in her opinion it's completely broken.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if you found some kind of connection with Gavin Newsom as he ramps it up. You know, that's we'll see.
Well, that will let us know if there's any intelligence to Gavin Newsom anywhere in there or not.
All right, here we got a couple here. Yeah.
If he attaches her to his efforts, he's dumber than I think he is.
We got the beatdown in 107 days.
Okay, that's good.
We got
that.
Fraud, Embezzlement, and Lunacy, a Kamala Harris story.
Yes.
That one's good. And then we got Kamala Harris, Word Salad Cookbook.
I had just had another one occur to me with the cookbook theme. You know, cooking the books, how to completely embarrass yourself in 107 days.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got one I can't read, but it's a good one. And then the next one, Harris book title, Rug Burns and Rum.
You're not letting me down, Chad.
You guys
We're 4 minutes into this, and you're not letting me down.
Bringing the heat. Thank you, guys.
Keep me updated on that. Oh,
yeah, you got Jason says 107 ways how to eat a Snickers upside down to feel. Yeah, she's the type that would probably try to eat a Snickers with a chopstick. You know. So.
Oh man, and then complain that the sushi was chewy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you guys, love you guys. Thank y'all. So this is why I'm going to blow every bit of whatever lottery earnings I get on y'all. We're going to have a Mississippi SuperTalk house party.
I like it.
Sponsored by no one. Mississippi Lottery, maybe, you know, and then I will lay down the cash and we'll have a blast. Everyone will be invited. So, you know, prayers are welcomed on me winning so we can all have a good time.
Sponsored?
No, I will have her be our keynote speaker. I'll throw the cash down.
The Lance Fun Association.
Yeah, we'll all have to take shots and Jello shots with her before she gets on at the podium and have a good time.
We'll never catch up to her. I don't know.
She'll be arriving from the Betty Ford Clinic. So
she's going to show up 30 shots in. There's no way to make up that kind of deficit.
The Betty Ford Clinic said, "No, this is a lost cause. Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, hon."
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. Move along.
You're a pro.
We're not even going to assess you. Have a good day. Okay. The emails that have come out. Changing the subject while the text.
I thought there was more Kamala emails. Yeah.
Oh no, the emails that have come out about Russiagate and all the stuff that has been released. There's one buried in there from Hillary Clinton, December 13th, 2018. She sent this. So, couple of years, into the first term of Trump. This email says she is, and I quote here, I'm going to read it, requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body, and the location of the buried Nephilim.
Wow. We've been,
okay.
Yeah. Now that's a Hillary Clinton email?
That's a Hillary Clinton email from December 13th, 2018.
Wow. So the Nephilim, they're real, huh? And Gilgamesh in his tomb, they say he was buried in like one of the rivers over there, right?
Yeah. And now there's some argument back and forth about whether or not he was just, buried in a chamber underneath a river, or if they just chunked him in and watched him float away. I don't know.
It's a weird relationship he had with his furry friend too, Gilgamesh.
Yeah. Maybe why Hillary likes him.
That's right. Kind of leading into that. It's like, was that like they're doing a little research into the Rainbow Coalition, and we're like, hey, let's start with Gilgamesh and his furry friend.
That's a great idea.
Oh,
maybe
man.
we can get him to speak at a festival. But anyway. Just to show you, we hear about the top level big gangbuster headline stuff. All of the things that have come out proving for the most part that all of that was made up. The whole, Russia hoax. Russia. No, didn't happen. They made it up from scratch. Counter-Strike went out and started promoting it. And then the FBI came in and said, yes, we know it's true because Counter-Strike said it. And then the CIA came out and said, obviously this is true because the FBI has confirmed this. Then Counter-Strike changed their message and started saying, well, both the CIA and the FBI have confirmed this, so obviously it's true. Anybody see the flaw in that there?
No, well, they lie for a living, right?
Yes, it has become ridiculously obvious, like we didn't know that already. But that was the process that unfolded that we're getting to see in those emails now. But in the meantime, watch out for Gilgamesh. He'll be back around momentarily.
That's some worrisome stuff there. He was kind of a big guy, He was one of those, He was one of the giants, right?
Yes, Yes, he was a big old dude.
Yeah. He looked like a Jerry Lawler,
Yeah. Big and hairy and just stomping all over the place.
I'm not sure I want him to come back,
Sign that man to a WNBA contract.
Yeah. Might have to pay him a bit, too. Put him in the WNBA,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, WNBA.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Slide him a 20, he's good. That's all it takes. When we come back... Man, let's briefly dip into what's going on with Israel and Ukraine. It'll be very quick. There's one thing specifically about Gaza I want to mention. And then we're going ballroom dancing in Washington. If you didn't hear that announcement yesterday, we'll talk about that on Morning.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Was a wealthy merchant in London did dwell. He had a beautiful daughter, the truth you will tell. Oh, the truth you will tell.
Welcome back.
He had sweethearts of plenty.
Super Talk Mississippi mornings. On a Friday morning, Dave Hughes here. Couple of things that I want to mention regarding the whole Gaza situation and Ukraine. Two separate stories, obviously, but similar in a way. Did you see the report that came out from the United Nations regarding the aid being sent into Gaza? We've been hearing the howling about this for quite some time. It's horrible. You're letting these people starve to death. Well, according to the United Nations, of the food trucks that are being sent into Gaza, 90% of them are being hijacked at gunpoint by Hamas, and the food is never reaching the people that it's being sent to.
Yeah, it's a terrible situation in there. Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful, and I think anybody can admit that, but I also think it's incredibly short-sighted and simplistic in your approach and your worldview if you think, well, just send even more trucks.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you're looking at, 400 or 500 pallets a day is what it's going to take, 60 to 80, and you drop in those by air. Air is literally the absolute worst way to ensure anyone's getting anything. So, yeah, when you drop it, you got the guys with big guns showing up and shooting up people and, stealing
and
it. So,
taking it for themselves.
That's right.
And then guess what happens? They're still starving.
Mm-hmm.
That is the point that so many people, especially on the left, don't want to deal with. They don't want to admit, and they don't want to even acknowledge, is the fact that none of this gets better until the Hamas problem is solved.
Well, they got to throw the weapons down. You got to get rid of the weapons, demilitarize. I've put in a lot of study into this, and there's just no easy solution there with guns. When you have, people that are really jumping over two different areas. You got Gaza and then you got Lebanon, right? I mean, so dealing with dudes that are pretty creative, have ways of moving around, playing the terrorist role, playing the guerrilla warfare role. And then you got Israel there trying to go in a more traditional stance in a very heavily populated area. Now, Israel has, done a lot of damage at the same time. The Palestinians are going to have to remove themselves of the sickness of Hamas. They've got to get them out. And the way I look at it is, I'm not sitting here trying to say Israel's never wrong and Hamas and Palestine's always wrong. It's not the way it works. I mean, that's a complicated situation. But at the end of the day, Hamas is your biggest issue. It's the wart on the face that you have to deal with, and the people over there, to continue protecting them in any way is idiotic.
Yes, and I'm sorry. I want the people over in the Gaza Strip that are starving to death to get food, to get aid. Yes, 100%. But they're not. We're trying. They're not, because it's being stolen by who? Hamas. Every problem there keeps coming back to Hamas.
And don't think that Hamas is a bunch of religious zealots, okay? They're not. I mean, these folks are militants, right? I mean, you put a bunch of people in an area where none of them believe the same thing. This has been going on, as we know, for well over 90, almost 100 years. I mean, you had the Peel Commission back in 36, 37, and neither side were willing to accept, losing land. You had, but again, just because World War II happened didn't mean that the Jewish people just showed back up. Oh, okay, we're here now. I mean, this legal migration had been happening, purchasing of land, these things for a long time before this state of Israel was established. So for the Palestinians and those who say, oh, they took our land. Well, I mean, this was a process that was going on for many, many years before that. Both parties were totally anti the solution that was offered. And for about a decade, had no idea, no desire in any way to sit down at the table and negotiate. So here we are, almost 100 years later, dealing with the exact same issues in a country in an area where it was a British protectorate for a long time. And again, you got to know your history a little bit to understand that it's not all negative Israel and it's not all negative Hamas. It's not all negative Palestine. There's just a lot of strange bedfellows and a lot of bad blood. And it didn't start with Israel having a country carved out. That's not how it started. So.
No, but I do think we would be remiss if we didn't remind everyone, because this seems to be escaping the national media's memory as
they don't like history
to cover this. I would like to remind everyone that the current situation started because of the Hamas invasion of Israel.
Yep.
Took hostages, still haven't given them all back, killed a ton of people. That's where this started.
Yeah, and that's it.
But we kind of tend to not really want to talk about that, because that weakens our position if we say, well, the guy that walked up and hit them in the nose, they're the victims. Yeah, no.
Well, that's a good point. There's been so many conflicts over the years. Almost about every 4, 5, 6 years, you're going to have a stirring over there. It's not something that has changed much. This one, for some reason, is one that everybody is putting so much effort on, basically, picking a side. These are the same type of issues that have gone on in this area for a long time. And again, Hamas has been a major thorn in the side, not only of Israel, but I would say of Gaza. the development of, and hiding underneath like rats in a civilian population. So, I mean, it's a crazy situation over there that needs help. But airdropping food to Hamas is not the answer, obviously.
No, because that's basically functionally what we're doing.
As one of our listeners says, we're feeding Hamas. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens every time you do these things. I mean, remember Somalia and all these other places? I mean, that's what ends up happening is the warlords show up with guns and trucks. 1982, Toyota SR5 still running, with a mounted gun on the back and a bunch of dudes that are just hollering and screaming, and then they steal everything and run off.
Now, to be fair, you can't kill those trucks.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, those things are still running. I want one.
Yeah.
I want to import one straight from, the Middle East. I want the bullet holes and everything on it because that thing will run probably till the next century.
Before we run out of time here and get to the break, Ashley Edwards coming up after the break. The other subject that I wanted to bring up is Ukraine, where the attacks are still going on. The problems are still happening. Russia refuses to back down. They kind of, let's just call it what it was, they kind of pulled President Trump's chain at first.
Yeah.
So, we'll do something. No, they didn't do anything. Well, they're never going to stop. They're never going to scale back.
And Putin's even said that recently. Like, he said that, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Well, I would like to point out one thing, though. They came out, I believe it was yesterday, it might have been the day before, and the Kremlin issued a statement after Trump said he was thinking about serious, severe sanctions against Russia and anyone doing business with Russia. They said, we have made ourselves impervious to sanctions. In other words, they already don't have any trade going on, and they're broke already. Yeah, so what you going to do to me?
The thing, it's a weird situation, too, because as Russia continues making advancements into the Donbass region, they're encircling several towns there and should probably have them encircled within the next week. They've been moving pretty quickly. And then you got the two kind of fulcrum points up in the northeastern part near Rumi, I think or Sami is how you say it. And there's two others in Kharkiv. So they're making moves. I mean, that's the one thing that's true. The War Institute, if you want to go out and follow, they've got great interactive maps, and but it's a situation on both sides where Russia running out of money and Ukraine running out of fresh bodies to keep putting to the front, and this is a situation again that is just out of control. And Russia's goal is to take over pretty much everything east of Kiev, and ratchet it down and take it back.
Let me tell you. Let me put on my Karnak turban here and predict the future and tell you who is going to come out the winner in that conflict between Russia and Ukraine. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There will be a winner. China.
Mm-hmm.
China is going to be the big winner in all of this.
The two pieces that really worry me most, if you look at a map and you draw a diamond from the Balkans to Ukraine to the Caucasus down to the Middle East, you have a diamond there. And that's where everything is happening right now. Now, it's mostly contained in those areas, but think of Ukraine as like the handle of a vice grip. You keep pressing there, and the prongs of that vice grip are going to start tightening down in other areas. So there is a spillover effect to Ukraine. Pay attention to the Caucasus, what we're talking about, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Chechnya. Remember, there was 2 Chechnyan wars. Azerbaijan is sided with us, and it's really interesting in there. And then the Balkans with Serbia and Kosovo being mostly Muslim, the Serbs being mostly the Christians, and that's who Russia supports and has funded for years, the Serbs. And then you got the mess going on in the Middle East. So this big diamond, that's where it's contained right now, and you hope none of this spills out outside of that.
Just received word Sydney Sweeney is being advised to not invade Russia during the winter. So it turns out
don't go over there with a vape pen either.
Yeah, the comparisons were dead on, as it turns out, because that was nothing but Nazism. Cute girl in jeans. Holy cow, what are we coming to? When we come back, got some good stuff to talk about with Ashley Edwards. Really good stuff. We'll get into that when we come back on Super Talk Mississippi.
From the Seabrook Paint. Brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
When they ask where you heard it, you tell them.
I know you heard
Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Wash away my troubles, wash away my pain, with the rain in Shambhala. Wash away my sorrow, wash away my shame, with the rain in Shambhala.
Well, if all it takes is rain, there will be no troubles and no pain in Mississippi over the weekend. It's starting to look like, and next week for that matter, but we'll talk about that later.
Anytime our next guest comes on, it just makes me happy, so I had to throw on like a happy song after our deep conversations. So, that was why I threw Shambhala out there. Plus, he's a coast guy. Isn't that heaven?
Yeah, I would think so. I think we would classify it as that, and now we will get the expert opinion on that. Joining us, the former president and CEO of the Gulf Coast Business Council, and most importantly, SuperTalk Mississippi News column contributor, Ashley Edwards. That's your top title now, Ashley. How you doing this morning, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Dave. How are you doing this morning?
Doing good. I want to talk about Katrina, because we're now in August. We're less than a month away from the 20th anniversary. And I want to talk about that in just a moment. But let me ask you a question, because you're a news hound. You keep up with stuff like we do, obsessively, to a stupid wife annoying level, or maybe that's just me. What would you say if you had to pick? Well, what's the biggest news story we've got right now?
I think despite the efforts that Fox News continues to go through to try to tamp down the story, this Jeffrey Epstein story is probably the biggest story going right now. And the reason I say that is because I think it has the most sticking power. I can't help but just look at the way the Trump administration has handled this. And I should say, not just the administration, but going back to the campaign. I mean, it's almost as if, they're now complaining because the kids won't lay down and take a nap, but they've been feeding them caffeine and sugar for the last 12 months. They did everything they could think of to hype up the Epstein files, to have the Attorney General and Assistant AGs stand in front of the White House with binders. We're going to release the Epstein files. We're going to provide this level of transparency that you would not have gotten otherwise. And then in a complete about face. And, I think usually the truth of the matter is it's not quite as scandalous as it may appear. So I don't know for a fact that there are things in there that are as scandalous as what some people assume, but certainly the activity around it and the behavior that they've had around it helps contribute to that narrative. And so I think it's a big story, not in terms of its importance to the American people, but in this age of 24-hour news cycles, when we just don't have the attention span to keep up with something. This one has the potential to have some staying power, as it has for the last several weeks and likely will continue for the next several weeks.
Well, and I think you put your finger right on it. A big part of the problem is if you get in there and you start going through it and you realize you don't have a smoking gun, if you will. You don't have something you can point to and say, see, we told you. That's almost as bad as any other kind of result that you could get, because like you said, they banged on that drum for so long and so hard, and now it's just angering people, and it's so uncharacteristic of Trump and the people he has surrounded himself with this time, because they have done a pretty good job of whatever they said during the campaign. Yep, and here it is. And moving through issues one after another. Look at the border and what has happened there. They promised we're going to shut it down. Guess what? It's locked up solid. But then this issue has popped up, and it just, like you said, I think won't go away. And I think that's part of the reason is because it stands out. If he had made a bunch of promises and fulfilled none of them, it wouldn't stand out because it would just be business as usual. And I think his success is making this issue worse in a way.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, I think if they had a mulligan on this and they could take a totally different approach to how they handle it, they probably would at this point. But I think there's been a learning experience here for the administration, because I think that It's easy for them to forget sometimes that the MAGA base. I mean, I look, and let me say this because I think it's important. I think when you look at quote unquote Trump supporters, you've got to separate those into a few different buckets. There are people that voted for Trump because they just believe, hey, this guy's got the smarter group of policies, for what I want to cast my presidential vote for. There are others who are true followers of a movement. They see him almost as a spiritual leader of a movement. And there has always been, I think, a belief or assumption that people that fall into that camp that are true MAGA adherents, that they would just sort of, go in whatever direction Trump asked them to, that they would follow the leader, so to speak. And that has not been the case here. And so, there's no question when you look at certain media figures on the far right that, podcasters, hosts, others who have not toted the party line on this, it has created a lot of consternation. But the truth of the matter is people are very independent-minded, and what they were attracted to was the belief that they were finding someone who was like them, someone who wanted to get to the bottom of what was going on. These people are convinced, in some cases, of conspiracy theories that these things are true, and they certainly have had rhetoric coming at them for years that have said, you're being lied to, things are being hidden from you, they don't want you to know the truth. And so suddenly when they come and say, we're not going to do the things we said we're going to do in terms of releasing these files because there's ultimately nothing to see here, so move along. They're not just going to snap to attention and say, yes, sir, let's move along here. That's just not what's happened. And I think this is a bit of self-discovery for them about the movement they created, which is the movement has a life beyond its leader.
Yes, and just for comparison, another issue, I can think of one other issue that was a hot topic during the campaign because it was going on then. They promised they were going to reveal the truth about all the drones that were going everywhere. And then nothing happened. And then one day, a reporter asked him about it in the White House. He said, that's a good question. Hey, and pointed, I can't remember who, it might have been Caroline Leavitt. I don't think so. Might have been Susie, and said, hey, find out about it today and get it to me. And we never heard another peep about it. But that went away. Nobody talks about that. Nobody's remembered that. This Epstein thing, it's on a different level. You're right.
Well, people don't trust government, and they're right not to. I mean, show me someone who completely trusts their government, and I'll show you someone I want to argue with about the history of the governance of mankind. People don't trust government, and so when you have things that feed into that already existing mistrust, they're not going to go away that quickly. And I do think this one is probably here to stay for a while, not to mention the fact that Democrats who have been completely rudderless, literally looking like they didn't know what they were doing, have finally found something they can latch on to. And so, in some ways, this has been a gift horse for them. Well,
that's the only horse they have at the moment. They have cratered in public opinion. I mentioned it earlier in the show. Kamala Harris on The Late Show, and Colbert asked her, who right now is the leader of the Democratic Party? And she said, well, there's a lot of leaders. Which sums up the Democratic Party right now perfectly. I don't know. Him and her and that one over there. And that's it. They're going to cling to any life raft that floats by. And this has been a big one for them to cling on to. During that appearance, by the way, I don't know if you saw any of that, Ashley. She was there to promote her book coming out next month, 107 Days. The C Spire text line has been very helpful with us so far this morning. There's got to be a better title for this book. Think about it and see if you've got any suggestions. What a better title for that book, for Kamala Harris's book about her presidential campaign would be. We came up with some good ones. The text line came up with some buttes. A lot of them we can't say on the air because there are laws. The FCC does regulate the words you can say on the air, so we can't say a lot of them, but just think about that. And if one hits you, let me know, because there's got to be something better than 107 days. You know?
You would think so, but it's kind of amazing this continued milking of a failed presidential campaign for for book sales. My first question when I heard she had written a book is, who cares? Who really wants to read this? But I think that's also indicative of when someone has run for president of the United States, it is so difficult for them to exit stage left. They become literally convinced of just how much they matter in society, and this is a perfect example of that. A bad candidate who really never had much of a shot to begin with, still milking it for everything it's worth.
Biden's also got a $10 million deal to write a book. I assume it will be written via auto pen from an assistant, but he's going to write a book. I assume it's going to be called Huh? It's the only title that would make sense. We're talking with Ashley Edwards. If you can stick around, because we completely got involved in talking about the stuff. See, you got to realize something. Ashley and I could sit here and have this conversation for the next 3 hours. We might have to break to take a sip of a beverage or something, but we could just go. When we come back, let's talk about the Katrina anniversary, if you can stick around.
Absolutely.
Ashley Edwards with us. We continue with him on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi next.
From the Venable Glass Track.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
You heard it here first.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Here comes the Hughes.
Can't use that one on the air, Lance.
Yeah, I had to get you right before you went on air, too.
Oh, yeah, it was excellent timing. It came in right. And another book, we'll tell you off the air, Ashley. It's another suggested book title for Kamala's new book that would definitely send us on early retirement. Welcome back, Ashley Edwards with us, and we're coming up pretty quick here. And this just continues to blow my mind. The 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. How has it already been 20 years, Ashley?
I find myself asking the very same thing. When I went to work for Governor Haley Barbour on Katrina recovery and back at the end of 2005, I was 25 years old. And I think about the fact that almost as much time has now passed since Hurricane Katrina as I had been alive by the time it hit, which is just unbelievable to me. I can't even begin to figure out where all these years went. I think the amazing thing about it is, if you had asked me back in 2005 if we would make it 20 years without having another hurricane that would have really, really significant impacts, I would have told you it was unlikely. When you look back across the history of recorded major tropical landfalls in coastal Mississippi, generally speaking, you don't have that much of a gap between these big events. There was for example, a huge hurricane that hit the Mississippi Gulf Coast in 1947, another one in 1969 with Hurricane Camille. You had several during the 1970s and 80s. Even up into the 1990s with Hurricane George in 1998 and then Katrina in 2005. Other than a pretty good wind event with Hurricane Zeta back in 2020, we've not had those huge impactful storms really over that 20-year period of time. And that's frightening. It's scary because it tells you, it's never a question of if, it's only a question of when. We will get another major storm impacting coastal Mississippi, but we're very fortunate, frankly, and maybe we should thank the good Lord that we've had 20 years to get our feet back under us without having to go through something of that nature again.
That's an excellent test to find out if you're talking to an optimist or a pessimist. Point out that it's been 20 years and we haven't had a big one, and you'll either get the response of, we've been really fortunate, this is great, or we're due. You're going to get one or the other every time, it seems
That's
like.
Right.
And we just don't know. Every hurricane season is a roll of the dice. We have to wait and see what's going to happen. Now, of course, and I had this conversation because when it was going on, I was on the air at the time, and up here in Southwest Mississippi, nothing to compare to what everybody went through down on the coast, obviously, but I know personally at my house in Pike County, I was without power for over 3 weeks. It messed things up pretty good as it was coming through. Having said that, on the coast, the coverage at the time, of course, was all about New Orleans, it seems like. The media, that's all they wanted to talk about. Meanwhile, Waveland was gone. It was just completely wiped off the face of the earth, and nobody mentioned it. 20 years on, are we fully recovered on the coast from Katrina and back to where it was?
I think there are many things that are recovered well beyond where they were before Katrina, but it is not a complete recovery 20 years on. I mean, there's no question the front door of the Mississippi Gulf Coast is Highway 90 and Beach Boulevard, and simply driving along that corridor, you still see lots of big empty lots of scars that are left from Hurricane Katrina. Heck, there's still Katrina-funded road and water and sewer infrastructure work ongoing across the coast. So we have not achieved a complete recovery yet. I think the better marker in some ways for what the overall impact of the recovery effort has been is the fact that we have rebuilt in such a way with resiliency and mitigation in mind that if Katrina exactly as it was, if it were to hit the coast again today, it would not have the same level of impacts that it had in 2005 because things have been strengthened and hardened and homes have been elevated in ways that they weren't back in those days. It would still be incredibly impactful, but it wouldn't have the same level of impact. And part of the reason for that, Richard, is because we just didn't. Sorry, Richard, I meant Dave.
You were close.
Part of the reason for that is, I know it. I don't know what I'm thinking here. We didn't do the work after Hurricane Camille to be prepared for the next one. And so what happened with Hurricane Katrina in 2005, in a lot of cases, was it wiping away what was rebuilt after Camille, in many cases that wasn't elevated or wasn't built to code or was built back on the ground. And the lessons weren't learned. I don't think we made the same mistake twice with Hurricane Katrina.
Ashley, we got to go. We're up against the end of the hour. Thank you so much. Always enjoy talking to you, and it's always too short. Take care of yourself.
Dave, have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
You too. Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News up next this hour of Mornings with Richard Cross, brought to you by MWG Employer Services.
Check this out. Now, what can be offered to you?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Information.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
ICC is a ticking on down the line. Well, I'm a little overweight and my logbook's way behind. But nothing bothers me tonight. I can dodge all the scales all right. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight. Well, my rig's a little
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi Mornings. Minus Richard Cross on Fridays, Dave Hughes in, and joining us now, the National Federation of Independent Small Businesses, Mississippi and Louisiana Director, Leah Long joins us. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Yeah, thanks for having me on this morning.
Well, definitely, and I want to get into this topic. The big problem right now with employment, specifically in Mississippi, because there is one thing I understand that you're hearing from your members that is their problem with finding employees right now, right?
Yeah, finding skilled labor, and I know we talk about that a lot, workforce development in Mississippi. I think we're just talking about it too on a national level, and they're having a hard time filling job openings in their small businesses.
Now, when you say skilled, what do you mean by skills? What kind of skills are they looking for that they just can't seem to find enough of?
Well, it's not just directly one skill, two skills, whatever it may be. You know, you kind of have your set jobs of, it depends on the type of industry you're in. You know, we talk about a lot of the job openings are in construction, and a lot of them, they're around that kind of trade center employment. And so I think that's one thing that we've really got to start working on, the development of our workforce in Mississippi. And I think, you know, the past few years during the legislative session, they really have tried to streamline some of the process to connect employees with employers, but they've also streamlined the fact that they want people to go get trade certificates. They want people to go to community colleges. I mean, there's a lot of workforce grants out there to allow people to go better themselves and get a better skill set so they can be eligible to be able to go work in these small businesses. And so I think that's one thing. You know, it's hard to define a skill based on, you know, it depends exactly what the industry is, what the job is, but just being able to have that skill set workforce is huge for these small business owners, because sometimes you play a lot of different roles in a small business.
Yes, definitely. And let me just say before we go any further, my studio here that I do my daily show on from Pike County is inside the Workforce Training Center on the campus of Southwest Community College. So I get to watch them every day. And this is the hardest working group of people I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they are continuously getting people in here, offering training, reaching out to people, communicating with businesses. So the resources are there to fix this problem. We've just got to get more people to use them, I think.
I think that's too. I think it also, you know, communication is always key, allowing people to know that, you know, these programs are out there. They're eligible for this, whether you're just getting out of high school and you want to go into that, whether you're a single mom and you're looking to kind of, you know, get a more integrated skill set and you go do one of these programs at your local community colleges or your colleges. And, you know, there's a lot of like trade skill internships available also, and being able to kind of just put people in those programs, because in reality we want people to go get a better skill set. We want them to be employed in Mississippi. We want our dollars to stay in Mississippi and our people to stay in Mississippi. And so I think it's just kind of like a complete circle when you can kind of add workforce in there and make sure that everyone does well in Mississippi.
Well, and that's the trick, because without the employees, well, the business is in trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, without your employees, because in a small business, and I talk about this a lot, that when you decide to hire and train somebody, you're kind of investing your own capital. You're investing your own time. And ideally, you know, they don't have a huge HR department. They don't have all these things that, you know, help with that, you know, to onboard somebody. And so they've invested their time in that. So they want to be able to keep them. They want to be able to keep them to stay and work and continue to grow their business also.
And one thing I find interesting, I'm kind of going off the beaten path here just a little bit, but I talk to a lot of small business owners in this area. And the thing I hear over and over, one of the things they're looking for that they sometimes have trouble finding is somebody that will, and I'm going to quote because I've heard this so many times, I want somebody that'll show up. It can be that simple, can't it?
Yeah, you'll hear from that a lot. Just, you know, in fact, this is one example this morning. Of course, you know, I live in Louisiana, I do Louisiana too. I was dropping my dogs off at their doggy daycare to get groomed today, and one of the lady told me, she's a small business owner, she said, you know, I'm just looking for someone to be here when they say they're going to be here, and, you know, be able to open up, because we have customers coming in, and I think that's a huge thing. A small business owner, you think about that, you know, if you have 10 or less employees and 4 don't show up, it definitely affects the business. I mean, they may have to close that day. It may be running on a tight schedule. So I think that's one thing, and that comes with, you know, skilled set workers, you know, allowing people to go and better themselves and get those training skills, whether it may be, you know, how to interact with the public, whether it's a trade certificate, whether it's working on their communication skills, being able to get there so those people do feel confident in their job and they do come and the business functions like it's supposed to.
And this is what I was building towards, because I was mentioning the Workforce Training Center here where I'm broadcasting from. They offer training in all of that, the communication skills, how to interview, anything involved in getting a job and being able to better yourself in life, they can and are eager to help you with at workforce training centers and other centers around the state. The help is there. You just got to, number one, know about it, because when you think about a workforce training center, you don't think a class on how to interview, how to build a resume, things like that. No, they'll teach you. They'll help you to do those things. I think you put your finger right on it. You just have to get the word out to folks that these resources exist for them to use.
Absolutely, and I think that does go as we continue to put a lot of pressure on the state legislators of how do we make Mississippi more business-friendly. Well, obviously, we've worked on taxes. We're working on other insurance things, and we're also having to work on the fact that workforce is a huge part of continuing to make Mississippi more business-friendly. And, it comes from an education standpoint, like you said earlier, getting the word out to people and just allowing to create those programs. I think every year, the past couple of years in Mississippi, there has been some sort of bill that allows trade certificates to be done, internships. There's even some, I think, that they allow, you get a college credit if you go work during the summer at a industry-specific business. And I think as we continue to create those programs and continue to work with the small business owners and, talk to them and say, hey, what are y'all looking for? What is the type of jobs y'all need and what industry are they in, and continue to gear toward that, I think it's going to make Mississippi better in the long run.
The tax movement is important. The other things are important. But I think the workforce is the most important piece of the puzzle, because I don't care how low your taxes are. If you need 100 employees and you can only find 20, it's not going to do you any good.
Exactly. And, making sure that, because, we always say we want to keep Mississippians in Mississippi. We always talk about that in the South. We never want people leaving. We don't want people going to Texas. We don't want people going to Florida. We want them to stay right here and being able to make sure that those jobs are there. Well, once they're there, we have to continue to make sure we have employees. So I think we're kind of right in that balance line of, okay, we keep bringing more jobs to Mississippi. Small business owners are doing well because the personal income tax is lower. And, of course, on the federal level, the 20% tax deduction, small business tax deduction just got reinstated. And so that's a huge thing, and that it increases optimism in small business owners because they know it's going to be made permanent so they can reinvest in their business, which possibly could mean more jobs. Well, we've got to have employees for those jobs. And so I think we're kind of right on that cusp of, we got to continue to make sure we invest in our workforce here in Mississippi.
Well, when this conversation happens, as it does really every month these days when the jobs report comes out, I invariably see comments on social media and other places going, we've kind of gotten past, I think, the often repeated phrase, nobody wants to work anymore. But we're off in the area now of just general confusion. How could this possibly be? It's not that there's not people that want to work. It's that they don't have the right skills. They can't bring to the table what the employers need for them to succeed and the employees to succeed. That's why this is to me, most important topic. And I know I'm repeating myself. And you know what, Leah? I don't care, because we got to keep repeating it until somebody listens, right?
I think that's completely true. And, I hate saying, that statement phrase that people don't want to go to work. People do, and it is just quite unfortunate sometimes that the skill set's not there. But it's up to a lot of people. It's up to business owners. It's up to, the legislators, government to say, hey, we have these programs available for you. And, whether it costs some amount of money, whether you get a scholarship, whatever it may be, being able to do that. And I think once people realize that, people that are searching for a job, and I know Mississippi, they're working on the one-door policy to streamline, people that do need jobs, being able to stream that process. And if they find a job and they don't quite have that skill set yet, it's going to be important to push them, the Workforce Commission, push them in the right direction to be like, okay, here is a trade program you can go get. Here's a class at your local community college you can go to. And it also keeps the community thriving. Those local community colleges, having people coming out of those programs is a huge deal. It continues to keep their programs building on too.
Leah Long with the National Federation of Independent Small Businesses, the director for Mississippi and Louisiana, and the owner of some glammed up dogs by now, I'm sure. You dropped them off. They've had time. They're looking like fashion models at this point, I'm sure. Thank you so much. Always enjoy talking to you. Keep up the good fight, and I'll join you in continuing to annoy everyone about the opportunities available.
I love that. Thank you so much.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross. The monitor switch lets you hear breaking news. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Only dog I've ever owned. Now I love you just the way I love that rag dog. But only now my love has grown. And it gets stronger in every way.
obviously the theme music that'll play at the start of the audiobook version of Kamala's new book coming out next month.
I'm glad you got it, sir.
Oh, yeah, I got it immediately. I knew exactly what you were doing. We didn't discuss that in advance, but I knew. By the way, is she going to do the reading for it? Please.
Yeah, the audiobook, please let her. After a box of Boda Box.
Yes. One? Come on.
That's just 3.5 bottles. That's not near enough, right?
Not even a decent pregame for her. I'd like to remind you, coming up on Tuesday, it's all day on the road for SuperTalk Mississippi. Going to be at the University of Mississippi for CAST. Child Advocacy Studies is what that's about. 6 a.m. to 6 p. all day. We're going to be there. It's going to be at Ole Miss. It's going to be an interesting day, and you're going to learn something. So make sure you tune in on Tuesday to SuperTalk Mississippi and our discussion about CAST. Have you been keeping up with the nonsense regarding the censorship in England?
A little, yeah. I mean, it's the English are leading the way in messing up everything, and that's a good one to put in the feather in the cap there.
And I want to point out, this is another example of using the cry of we've got to protect the children to drastically overreach. I don't think anybody would argue against keeping kids away from pornography and vice versa. You've slipped a cog if you're in favor of that happening. That was the stated purpose of the laws that went into effect in England. Got one guy, I'm looking at it here. This is how badly they are overreaching with that law beyond the intended purpose. Somebody ordered a pizza for delivery from Pizza Hut in London. Posted a screenshot. Talked about it. It pops up a message said, have your photo ID ready. You must show it to your driver before you can be given your pizza that they just paid for. They're now starting to send out notices. They've sent out notices to American companies that they're in violation because they have stretched the boundaries out, and now they're going after anybody that says anything they don't like. Literally. The Trump administration, Donald Trump, has issued a warning to Keir Starmer, the prime minister, not to censor American tech companies in their ongoing, it's called the Online Safety Act. That's what I'm talking about. That's the slippery slope. That's the danger. They always put it out there as this is a good thing. Who would be against this? Well, nobody's against what you're saying it is. It's what it winds up being. That's the problem. So now you've got X, Reddit, YouTube, all of these companies are getting notices from the British government saying, you better change the way you do things or we're going to fine you. And President Trump has said, oh, you think? No, it's not. You better stop it right now. You don't mess with us, with your little whatever it is. It's an interesting cautionary tale because, again, it's the Online Safety Act. It has been promoted as a way to protect the children. I am really starting to develop a bad reaction anytime someone starts talking about something to protect the children, because you never know when something like this is going to come out of it. I'm sorry, you got to show a photo ID to get a pizza.
Yeah.
Which is a direct result of this. That's about as far from the intended stated purpose of it as you can get.
You think they have voter ID though over there? You probably have
question.
to, but you have to have an ID to get a pizza, but to vote,
probably not. Well, they're going
That's
after
racist
people.
and discriminatory.
They are basically putting this into place for all social media. Discord, everybody's talking about it. They can't go on there. They can't go anywhere to communicate with other people without having their photo ID, their official government ID on file, so that it is attached to them and everything they say. And they are going and finding or arresting people who comment that they don't like the immigration that's been going on and they want it to slow down or stop. And the government's been going and getting them for that.
And they're overrun with, illegals.
Yes, they have a severe problem with that right now, with a lot of serious criminal activity going on behalf of the immigrants that have moved in and taken over, basically.
And this is a country, that still, within its boundaries of the island, still has a major population with a wall between them,
Yes. This is what worries me. We are getting a clinic. We are getting a full demonstration in how badly things can go if you just listen to what they say it's for and don't pay attention to what could actually come out of it, no matter what it is.
It's a great point, too. You look at Europe. I mean, it's something America's always prided itself on, being, the Western version and really attaching itself to the values. Look at what's going on in Europe right now. Censorship, illegal immigration, economies that are having difficulty. You're running into certain issues that, as you say, if you think that's where you want to go, man, it's right there. There's a litmus test right there in front of you to see where this country is going to go if you continue on the liberal wokeness and craziness that we've seen. You got a president here that's trying to create, I believe, some semblance of order. And, it's hard with him at times because he can be a little unpredictable. But you know what the goal is. That's to put America on even footing, to get the illegals out of here, have Americans working, and fund the things that need to be funded. And so I'm with him. There's always there's many paths to take, right, that can lead to the same place. But the one you don't want to go down is what you see in Europe do, and especially England.
Yes, and that's why President Trump has stepped into the middle of this, because the government in England, the Prime Minister, the entire government, King Charles criticized President Trump for his comments and his warning to the British government about this. They're all in lockstep on this. It's a good idea. That's why President Trump spoke up about it. It is an enormous problem. It is a big deal. And it started, and the law was passed, the Online Safety Act, so we could protect the children. Just pay close attention. I'm not saying everything that is marketed as protecting the children is bad, but you need to look at it and see what doors it's opening for worse problems down the road, because they're now to the point to where if somebody goes on their version of Facebook, they have to have uploaded their photo ID so they know exactly who it is, and they post something that is critical about the policies or the elected leaders in England, the police show up at their door.
It sounds familiar.
Doesn't it? But how did it start?
Well, remember, a couple of days ago was the last diary that Anne Frank published before the Nazis came and kicked her door in and took her 3 days later.
Yeah.
So, sounds a little like that to me, but, we're the Nazis, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's Sydney Sweeney. We've been told that. Cute girls are the problem. But this is what we have to continuously guard against. This is what we have to watch, and this is what we have to keep in mind, because it's never what it's labeled as. They have a phrase for it. They have a term for it. It's called dying puppies. What that means is they have something that they want to promote, something they want to accomplish. In this case, in England, basically a complete lockdown of anyone's ability to have any kind of free speech at all, apparently.
So use the kids.
Yeah, so use the kids.
Put some puppies up there that are crying.
These puppies are crying and dead. How could you possibly be against helping this puppy? You need to support us right now on the Save the Dying Puppies Act. And the Save the Dying Puppies Act doubles your tax rate and takes away your property rights. You have to look at what it's actually doing. Don't believe the propaganda nonsense that is put out and the stated public reason for something. We're getting, like I said, a clinic right now from England on how that process works. And President Trump has stepped in and said, stay in your lane. You want to mess your country up, that's fine. Leave ours alone. You have no authority here. That discussion's not over. That problem's not over. You watch and wait. I'm telling you. We continue on this Friday morning on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From the Seabrook Paint.
Cross.
Let's get on with the show.
Check it out. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi mornings on a Friday morning. Hope your Friday is going fantastic. Illinois just became the first state to require mental health screenings for students.
Well, you saw that student loan debt is mandatorily now paying, the interest that was mandatory that was basically wiped out. Now you got to start paying your interest on your student loans again.
Which is why they should probably expand that program to include former students.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had to pay interest on the loans I had. I know my sister did, and what's fair is fair. You take the money out, it's yours to pay back. Maybe you'll get a degree that allows you to do that.
Yeah, the only problem is allowing people who we consider not responsible enough to drink to take out tens of thousands of dollars in loans by signing their name.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great having this conversation with, we have such a need in the trades, and I think you have to start looking at where your future may be most fruitful. It's great to go to college, and I can't say anything really negative about my experience there. I got to play sports and have a good time, got a couple degrees, but at the end of the day, there were other options I did consider. I looked at going to the Naval Academy. I looked at going the junior college route. I didn't consider the trades then because, at that time they had removed all of that from the schools, basically, and it was almost like a slight if you went into the trade world. And now I think you see that there's such a great need there, and you can make great money right out of the gate. So, I'm not one of these that has a problem with people borrowing money to get an education, but there are other ways to do that. And as we've seen, there are a lot of great companies out there that are willing to pay for your certifications and expertise to come work for them. And you're not in the hole, and you get to start making some bank right out of the gate. So, I think it's a case-sensitive issue,
Yeah, definitely is, but it hasn't been treated as such.
No. We're seeing that now. I think I'm very proud of our state.
Yes.
And as well the desire of the younger folks to move into that world, because I think there's a great future there for many. As we see, a couple of our listeners have said they have one in college and one that's in the trades, and we'll see down the road and which one was better for the other. But
you get one in college and one in the trades, then you erase them.
Yeah, you see, all right, let's see what's going on here. So that's a good point. It's sometimes we're going to have to wait. Patience is a virtue to see how all this plays out. But I have a feeling with the great work that entities like Build Mississippi and all of them are doing out there to get everybody rolling, making a good living, and providing the labor that the state of Mississippi desperately needs. Yeah, I'm very happy to see this and be a part of it and to promote it. Again, it's not for everybody, but it is going to be for a great portion of those that say, maybe this 2 or 4 years, that's not really where I want to go.
It's all about changing the perception, because what you said is 100% true. I know you had the same experience growing up. If you went into the trades, ew, ick. that just wasn't viewed as what you should do.
Yeah.
And we have to change that perception. We continue to do so, and we're making great strides with it, I think. We just have to keep going. You sent me something during the break I had on my list I was going to ask you, so it was perfect timing, as usual, from Lance. I got to lean on your expertise. In 20 words or less, how do we fix the Federal Reserve at this point?
20 words or less. Get rid of the Fed chair, Jerome Powell. You had two dissenters in the most recent debate that they carry on using data. They're data-centric. So how can the governors disagree on numbers? Would be my question. I mean, I did this stuff for a long time. The data says what it says. It is what it is. And you have a mandate to use the data to make decisions. And I believe you're seeing a Fed chair that is not willing to use the data to make the decisions. And he's got a crew with him. He's six of them. Yeah. And you got a couple that are like, no, this is not what it's saying. So to me, if you're going to use the data to function in your mandate, then I believe you must use the data, if that is what the baseline is. So I have a problem with a Fed chair that is not using what has been accepted in order to move rates up or down.
Well, the problem here is it is becoming more and more apparent with every meeting of the Fed, of the board, that Jerome Powell is no longer using data to guide his decisions. He's using assumptions.
And that's where I have a problem. Again, the data is going to tell you. I did this for a long time, and it is what it is. We have one listener, Thomas, says, well, inflation's increasing. I don't know about that per se. I would say this, though. You keep rates, when the data says you need to move them, it's time to move them.
Well,
inflation can happen exactly where you are here with lack of supply. And people, those things that causes, again, some of the housing prices you've seen in inflation has been caused by a scarcity of homes.
Yes.
And people don't build homes when they can't afford the interest rates on them. So,
well, and I have a question in response to that. What is the inflation rate now, and what was the inflation rate right before the election last year when Jerome Powell and the Fed cut interest rates twice in a row?
Yeah.
Leading up to the election. What was the interest rate? What was the inflation rate then? What is it now?
Well, you had a lot of people saying on the left that there was no inflation per se. You had a lot of people on the right saying, "Oh, there's a lot," and then really it's somewhere in the middle. The inflation was accelerated. We know that. There's a lot of lingering money that's been hung up out there with COVID and all this money we're throwing and pouring at everything. As money is supposed to solve it all, apparently, but it doesn't. You can't just keep throwing money at problems and expect change. So Powell was one of Trump's nominees in the first go around. And that was a while back. Sometimes people extend beyond their shelf life. And I would say if the Fed chairman is not using the data that has been mandated to them to be used, and he is refusing to use that to make decisions and yet using assumptions and opinions, that is not okay. And I'm all for looking at a better option there because apparently maybe he has overextended his shelf life. And
just a little bit.
That's the way I look at it. And again, I've spent a long time in finance, and the numbers are what they are. You can't debate how you get to them because they change. You change those things like CPI and all that. It's changed over time. But the reality is that there are two Feds governors in there that said, no, the data says exactly what we need to do, and you guys aren't doing it. So I guess that's the question I would have. At what point did we decide data is not important enough to fulfill the mandate of maximum employment and lower inflation?
As I said, to me, it's becoming clear that this is more of a, what word do I want to use here? I've got so many to choose from. I'll just go with personal mission on the point, part of Jerome Powell.
I have a problem, too, because you're seeing rent rates at $1,800, $2,000 a house for a smaller, 2-3 bedroom in a suburban area. But you can buy the same house for about $900. So, we obviously have a housing issue. Okay, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
If you have low product. In other words, there's low inventory. Prices are going to go up because of scarcity. That is inflationary. That just because your house is appreciated, that may be nominal. It may not be real, basically because scarcity. You want real appreciation. You want maximum utility. You want equilibrium of things. And we're not there, obviously, because rent rates are outrageous compared to purchase. Now, who can afford to go purchase a home sometimes when rates are too high? And scarcity is a real problem. So we have it's a seesaw battle, Dave. It always is. And trying to make sure you have maximum employment, lowest inflation, and there's enough homes out there for people to be able to buy and afford to rent. And we don't have that right now.
Well, two things there. Number one, the inventory of houses, the number of houses for sale is higher than it's been in quite a while right now. The problem is it's all really expensive houses that a majority of Americans can't afford.
Sure. And I want to say, man, people need to be able to afford basic things, water, power, house.
Yes.
And rent at that rate. I mean, obviously a lot of people are getting subsidies to be able to pay for that because, look, I know what I make, and $2,000 a month on my salary just to rent something is insanity. And I have a good job. I work hard, and you guys know that. I'm here. I couldn't afford that. Are you kidding me? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That is ridiculous.
That's where we're at, and it's gonna take some tough stuff to work our way out of that.
Well, and this guy has been in charge of the Fed during this whole process, from the first Trump to where we are. So I'm saying I personally believe he's done a terrible job.
Yeah,
and he would be on the chopping block immediately.
I saw somebody had a great point, said the easiest way, you don't have to fire Powell. Trump right now needs to go ahead and name his successor because, Powell's term's up. Is it next year or the year after?
I can't remember. I think it's 26.
I think it's next year. Go ahead and say who's going to take his place once his term is done. And then
pull a Colbert on him.
Yes, everybody will quit paying attention so hard to Powell. They've got a point, I think. Final segment of the show on the way for this Friday morning. Are you ready? Lance is ready. He didn't tell me that, I'm guessing, but it's a pretty educated guess. I'm ready as well, and we'll get to it right after this on Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
You need to know to start your day. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Now, here's more with Richard Cross.
Now in the streets there is violence, and none allow to solve what to be done. No place to hang or no washing.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi Mornings. Interesting comparison. I tried to look it up while we were on the air. You probably saw me leaned over typing, and I just couldn't get it phrased right. But during the break, I did. In November of last year, CPI inflation was 2.7%. For this month, it's 2.7%.
Inflation, it does bounce around a bit. Yeah. It's hard to nail it down.
Yeah. It was at 2.7 when they cut it by half a percentage point. And now it's at 2.7, and we can't afford to make any cuts. When you've got first time since 1993 that you have had two members of the Board of Governors dissent on the decision.
Yeah. And
that doesn't happen very often.
It does not. Usually they're pretty lockstep with each other. Because, again, it's a data-centric model. I mean, I followed them for a decade and a half every day.
Yes.
And you knew what was coming. 100%. You may not know the quarter that they're going to announce the cut or the hike, but you knew reasonably with 100% that it was happening at one of the next meeting or two. And so you knew the data said that. And that's where I'm at is, I mean, you can't change the model just because you want to.
Well, the reason that has been given for 6 months now is that the tariffs are going to cause a spike in inflation, so we can't cut right now because we've got to be ready. So we are basing our current monetary policy on what might happen in the future.
And that's economics for a lot of the part. You know, it's an art form. It's not a science.
Yes.
It's a you got a lot of formulas in there to make it look real, you know, I would say final. And, you know, but it's not. These are guesses. They're probabilities. And that's the real story behind economics in most cases is it's up and down, back and forth, and no one knows how to control it. No system, fascism, socialism, communism, capitalism, any of them, none of them, monarchies, oligarchies, nobody has been able to keep their currency stable forever. Because the one reality is we borrow money. Okay, everybody borrows money. So, and they run deficits, and so that's your main issue with inflation is how much the government is paying out in interest. And I think one of the points Thomas is arguing that, and I understand his point. He's saying it's a blessing that we don't see rates go down because you would see more increased spending. What I think may happen under this presidency may not be more spending, but at least you would be able to have less debt interest that is cutting into the revenues. So you're looking at things in probabilities here. It's just nothing definitive. But with the Fed, their mandate is based upon data. And if that data is saying one thing and they're not acting, I believe you're not fulfilling your mandate.
Well, and I admittedly take a simplistic approach, but for a solid 12 months last year, leading up to the election, we were told every time Jerome Powell walked up to the podium that they were going to make an interest rate cut because we want to achieve our target of a 2% interest rate when it was at 2.7. Yeah. Now it's at 2.7, and we can't cut that. No, we can't do that now. Why?
Well, and again, you have a major housing problem out there. And I mean, you know, that a year to 2 years of these types of policies have created a scarcity in the housing market, and you've seen rates for rent and other things go up extraordinarily high, where you've priced out a lot of people from being able to purchase. You know, you don't want a renter economy. You want a purchase economy.
Yes.
You're wasting too much money giving it to a landlord. Now, I did have one little fun thing I wanted to mention.
We need some
this
fun.
Day in history, on August 1st, 1952, a feller named Charles Kemmons Wilson founded the first Holiday Inn. Does anybody know where that was?
First Holiday? I have no idea.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Really?
Summer Avenue, yeah. And that opened the most iconic hotel chain for all of us, you know, kids and vacationers. They always had like an arcade or something, you know, in the old ones. The old Holidome down in Navarre Beach, though. That was the favorite of the fam when I was a kid. So thank old Holiday Inn for 1952, August 1st on this day, Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you, guys, because y'all have created a lot of great memories. Now, one thing I wanted to mention before we go is I wish the old Hojos would still be around, the old Howard Johnsons.
Man,
I mean, how can you beat a blue and orange hotel with a cafe out front and all that? The days of that stuff's gone. But, I mean, I love the old Hojos, man. Those things were true.
I'll tell you one blast from the past. Right around the corner from where you're sitting on County Line Road, the number of meals I ate at the Shoney's.
The Shoney's, yeah, exactly. Right across the street.
Man.
Almost, yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. By the way of cutting. Yeah,
I'm going to leave you with one. They have set a new world record for the most signatures on a piece of baseball memorabilia.
Really?
Minor league promotion. They had a giant 8-foot diameter baseball made, and they've been trucking it around to 15 different locations. It's been certified by Guinness, 6,750 signatures on it.
A lot of John Hancock's, huh?
The old record was set by Cambridge, 2,146, the Cambridge United Football Club, so they shattered that record. So baseball, still better than soccer. Fight me. I don't care. Lance, enjoyed it as always, sir.
Yes.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.